diving catch robs Pujols of extra bases, 2 down.
So 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, takes away probably 2 runs there defensively. That's 5 runs he's involved in. Matt Chapman.
Guys went high and deep to right field toward the corner. Adele onto the track near the wall, leaps up and he got it. Makes the catch for out number 3. Olsen. Off he goes. Which is hit out towards center field. That's smoke. That is going to be into the bushes. A 2-run home run for McCutcheon. And the Phillies take a 2-0 lead.
Here's another 3-2 going again as Soto hits one high in the air, right center field. Brinson near the wall, leaps, and he makes the catch! Lewis Brinson makes an unbelievable catch over the wall in center field.
Kevin, you're muted.
All right, now I'm not muted. All right,
No,
so,
you're good.
There we go. So, welcome in to this edition of the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show. I, of course, am your host, Kevin Wilson, and now we got things straightened out right here. I'm joined by Nick, straight from TSS Fantasy. I guess you guys didn't have a show this week, right, Nick?
No, we were on a 1-month hiatus, so we will be back on
1 month hiatus. All right, so we're going to definitely make use of Nick right here. Vince is in the great state of Indiana right now, and Dan, from what I understand, is on the road somewhere, I guess, in Pennsylvania. But that's okay, because we're going to bring on the power right now. We have a whole lot to talk about. And before we start talking about things, Nick, I want to make sure we give a shout out. Here it comes. There we go. Maybe.
Check out In the Clutch for all of your officially licensed sports apparel needs.
There it is. All right. So the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show, it's sponsored by In the Clutch. And if you are a baseball enthusiast, which I'm sure you are because you're on the show with us right now, or you happen to know someone who is a baseball fan, you need to get over to In the Clutch right now. They have all kinds of officially licensed apparel over there. If you're in the players, they've got all kind of players. Fernando Tatis, they've got Clayton Kershaw. They've got guys from another era like Pete Rose. They've got all kinds of retro stuff like from ballparks that no longer exist. So if you are a baseball enthusiast, get over, wait till the show's over, but as soon as we're done here, go ahead and get over to intheclutch.com and make sure that you put in the code BELLYUPFANTASY to receive your 10% off on all your items. So get over there to In the Clutch today. All right. So, Nick, since we got the word out for our sponsor, they're a great site. You could spend a whole lot of time just searching over there. But Nick, we've got some activity. We've got some activity that just so happened today. And it's only the 6th time in the history of Major League Baseball. Anytime you have something that's only happened 6 times, you got to sit up, you got to take notice. And that is that the Cincinnati Reds no-hit the Pittsburgh Pirates this afternoon. Okay? And there's nothing that's noteworthy, but it's not that noteworthy because it's happening. It's the 2nd one this week, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it's only the 6th time in Major League history where a team has pitched a no-hitter and lost the game.
Right.
So, Cincinnati had started to turn things around a little bit because we had talked about them before about how they only won 3 games, but they had put together some decent, baseball and everything else. But there is just no, explaining this away. This is something you don't want on your resume. And so, Nick, how do you look at this? How do you get this into your system and just try to figure out what happened here?
I don't know how it happens. I mean, last week we were all elated. We were celebrating their 5th win of the season.
That's right.
And then what? Eight pitcher combo of a no hitter, and then you lose. How do you, there's no coming back from that. And then and last week we were discussing, are there any Reds worth rostering on your team? And after this debacle, it's like, no. Well, we dug deep. We found a couple guys.
That's right.
But
Brandon Drury, just to throw a name out there, we found him last week.
It was Drury, Stevenson, and some other guy. But we noticed that there was no pitchers.
Maybe Pham, but that's
Pham.
Because they only had 4 hits of their own. So
and there was no pitchers that we mentioned.
None. And an interesting thing is Hunter Green pitched into the 8th inning. Then he walked a couple of guys. He came out, the pitcher, and I don't have his name right off the top of my head, but he came in and he walked the bases loaded and gave up
Warren.
Okay. And that's not somebody that you'll ever find on your fantasy roster. But he walked the bases loaded, and then he gave up the ground out that scored the run. It was the only run of the game. And the Reds lost 1-0. And so, like I said, anytime you're on the wrong side of history, that's not where you want to be. And so, but the good news is, it wasn't, like I said, the only no-hitter of the week, because earlier we had a rookie pitcher. All right, so you're talking about a guy that's not on a lot of fantasy rosters. I'm talking about Reed Detmers. All right, so he went out there and he pitched a no-hitter. And the interesting thing about this, Nick, is that he only struck out 2 guys in the entire game. And that ties the record for the fewest strikeouts ever in a no-hitter. And so what that tells you right out of the gate is that the Angels have an outstanding defense, because they made 27 putouts behind him to get that no-hitter. And so and this is starting to look a lot like last year, Dick, where you had no-hitters that were coming at us like every other day, it seemed like.
Oh, yeah.
And so I know we talked about this before, but now that we've had 2 no-hitters in a week, do you see this as being something that's going to be going on for the season?
I don't know. Before I answer that, did I say last week, and we were talking about which real team would be our fantasy team, and I said the Angels. I said the Angels.
You did. You absolutely
and then the
did
pitcher goes out and then pitches a no hitter. I think it's gonna be like anything else. It's gonna be cyclical. I think it's gonna be a trend for maybe a month, maybe, and then again, once the hitters start getting back in the groove of things, and I know we're going to talk about one in particular later coming up. Once the hitters start grooving, just like last year, didn't all those like no hitters come in April, late May, and then they kind of washed away?
Well, they kind of did, but there were some no hitters that happened later on in the season. There were 7 of them last year. Or
yeah, but
they
didn't come in. Did they come in clusters like they did early in the season?
Yeah, absolutely. There was 2 no hitters. There was a no-hitter that we talked about on this very show last year, while another no-hitter was in progress while we were on the show. So, hitting right now is at a historical all-time low. It's even worse than it was last year. And so, stuff starts to heat up and the hitters start to turn things around a little bit. And but still, major league hitting, you talk about shifts and you talk about all this other kind of stuff. And I go back to thinking that the hitters, especially the left-handed hitters, just will not go with the pitch. They won't hit to the other way. And I guess we're going to have this maybe because they said that they're going to ban the shift starting next year. So maybe we just have to endure it. Yeah, that's what they said before the season began. I don't know. I don't think I agree with that, because hitters go the other way. Just do that.
Right.
So, and then I heard the answer was, well, hitting a 98-mile-an-hour fastball is difficult. Well, that's why you're paid $30 million a year. Okay. So if somebody paid me $30 million, I would learn how to hit to the left side.
Right.
All right. And I'm pretty sure I'm not, I don't know how much Tony Gwynn made in his career, but it's pretty certain he never made $30 million in one season.
No,
But
not at all. So
no,
while you're talking about it, let's just kick a couple things around. So
okay,
go ahead with you saying they're going to ban the shift. That's like saying in football you're going to ban the blitz because offensive linemen can't
that's
block.
right. They can't block 7 guys coming at the quarterback.
Learn, overcome, adapt. Right.
That's
So
right.
again,
That's if you remember watching A Few Good Men, isn't that what they were saying? That's right.
Right. So then the other thing is too, given the fact that baseball this year is at a historic low, like you just said, do you think that the strike had anything to do with it? Because here's where I'm going with this. If they're on strike, okay, and they're not getting paid, and if they get injured, I'm not into the whole contract of baseball, but if they have like a workman's comp type of thing, if they get injured, even though they're doing baseball activities, does that go against their pay? So would them and their agent say, look, you're on strike, you're not getting paid, you're not under contract, so if you get injured, you're on your own. Do you think that they were just told don't do anything, and that's why it's taken a little while for this to catch up?
I don't know if they were told that, but each player had to do his own workout. They could not contact the club in any way. Mm-hmm. So whatever workouts they did were on their own. And I'm absolutely sure that, because the spring training was later and it was shorter. And so that has something to do with it. No question in my mind. But, we're in the middle of May now. That worked in April, I think. But we're in the middle of May now. So I'm not necessarily buying, at some point you got to put the excuse away and just do your job.
Yeah. But so, I mean, like a couple of guys couldn't get together in like Arizona or like Florida and say, okay, I'm going to rent this cage, and then you, Tommy, you go behind there and then, feed me the balls in the jug machine. I mean, they're professionals. They don't know their own batting drills, and they don't have YouTube. They can't look it up. So I see your point as well, and then I also see the point. Well,
right. So
okay, if it's May now, and it started late and ended earlier, so you got to kind of prorate it. So now for them, it's like kind of like the end of March, beginning of April. So the hitting might not come around until the end of June and the All-Star break. That's when it might flourish, because as their body gets accustomed to playing, it may. But again, you could look at this way. Hey, you're getting paid millions of dollars. Start doing work. Do work.
Right. It's like Joey Gallo, and I've talked about him till my eyes bleed. And, he's just a guy that refuses to hit the ball the other way, and it complains about he's only hitting 208. And so, when he was in Texas, I did see him go the other way a few times. All you have to do if you're a left-hand hitter is go the other way one time per game. And they would stop doing that. They would knock the shift off.
Yeah.
And so right-hand hitters, by and large, don't seem to have this problem. So left-handers, right-handers are facing 98-mile-an-hour fastballs too, and they can go the other way. So what's the issue here?
Well, they do say, scientists do say that left-handed people are odd. So that might have something to do with it.
Okay. That might be a conversation for another day. But yes, right. I've heard that as well.
Hell, all you got to do is bunt. All you got to do is just bunt it down the line. And
I've heard that too. But all you have to do is just hit the ball hard the other way.
Yeah.
If you did that and hit it, because there's only one guy over there, and that's a left fielder.
Hit it.
So
hit it wherever.
If you hit it to the left field, you're going to get a double.
Hit it where they would normally be anyway, and it's a hit.
Exactly. So that's that's one of the things that's going on. And I also wanted to mention that it was announced this week that baseball, because of the pandemic and everything, didn't go to London last year or the year before that, for a matter of fact. They're going to return to London starting next year, I guess, for the next 3 years. So, Nick, how do you feel about baseball in London overall?
I like it. It spreads the game. Number one, what I wouldn't do is so far as to say like what the NFL does is they're tinkering with putting a team over there full time. You can't, because the travel logistics and the time is just ridiculous. But if they want to do something special a couple of times a season, I think that'd be really cool. Plus, that from what I've read, the players enjoy it. It's like if they have a 3-game series, they go over there for 5 days. They 2 days of sightseeing in, and over there they love it too, because they can go anywhere and they don't really get recognized like they would here. And they'll get mobbed with fans. I think it spreads notoriety to the game. Plus, that baseball was derived from a British game called rounders anyway. So
that's right.
It's great for the game, as I keep saying. It brings in revenue, and it's funny because my wife, she jokes around with me. She says, "How can they call themselves world champions whenever they only play here?" So
yeah, that's been going on since what, 1908 or whatever.
Yeah, and all sports like basketball and football, they call them world champions, but they only play in the U.S. and Canada. So again, I think it's great. The only terrible thing for us is the time difference, because London is 6.5 hours ahead of us, I believe. So other than that, I think it's a great showing. I think they should do more of it. And I know that that we didn't talk about it, but when they went through all the trouble last year to build the field for out in Iowa for the Field of Dreams,
we were ecstatic over that.
One game and out there, use it for like special events. You built it. How much did it cost you to build? Use it. You have to get that revenue back, and it's great for the fans.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only thing that I question, Nick, is in 2019 they sent the Yankees and the Red Sox over there. That's the biggest rivalry in all of baseball. Why are you farming it out to a foreign country? When the fans of the Red Sox and Yankees, they fall all over themselves to see that. And so in football, I understand, because like Jacksonville, nobody wants to see them over here.
Right.
So they farm them out every single year, and everybody goes into the stadium and they lose their minds and all that. And this year they got next year rather, they got the Cubs and the Cardinals. Now, that certainly ranks in the top 5 of maybe top 3 of all baseball. And so, why send teams like that over there? Send somebody over there that's over here. We're like, okay, whatever. But they'll buy it over there in London. They'll,
Yeah, I think I have an anscer for that.
Go ahead.
Because money. I think their fans travel well. So if they say, if we get 60,000 people, Americans who love these two teams, to come over there, we're going to put the most popular teams over there. Like you had just mentioned, Jacksonville. People in Jacksonville don't even want to go see Jacksonville because Shad Khan, he couldn't sell at the stadium. So that's why they built the pool, that party deck, and they had to put tarps over their upper deck. So if you're going to get the most out of the revenue, money rules everything. It doesn't matter what it is. So you're going to have to put the most amount of money, the most people, the amounts butts in the seats. So do it. If it's going to be the most integral, now I wouldn't say put a World Series over there, but if you're going to put a special marquee weekend series and you're going to get 60,000 fans to go over there, absolutely, it's good. It's going to drive up revenue for the airlines and the local the local economy over there, and I'm sure we get a kickback, and then of course all of the merchandising dollars. So money drives all the decisions.
Yep, you're right about that. And this is not till next year, of course, but on the fantasy side of things, when the Boston and Yankees went over there, their offenses went nuts in whatever stadium that is that they play in over there. So if you've got guys next year in Boston or New York, or next year it'll be Chicago and the Cardinals, you've got hitters maybe on the wire before they go over there, get them into your lineup, because that is apparently a fabulous hitting stadium. So, all right, so that's, and I want to also, Nick, I wanted to bring up something that's near and dear to both of our hearts, and that is a couple of injured players. And one of them is your guy, Bryce Harper. And he's got a small tear in his UCL, and I won't pronounce what UCL stands for, but it's a ligament near your elbow, apparently.
It's your ulnar collateral ligament. It allows your elbow to rotate.
Okay, so there you go. Now you're getting the medical insight.
I teach anatomy and physiology, so that's why.
Okay, so you tune in for baseball, you get some medical knowledge as well. So from what I understand, that they gave him a shot, and he won't be playing the field for a while, but he will continue to hit. And so, Nick, is that correct? What I've heard, that he will continue to hit, right?
Right.
Okay, so if that is great news for Philly fans and fantasy guys that own him. And so, since we're talking about real life baseball, because Bryce Harper is a good defensive outfielder. Everything else he can do, he's also good defensively. And so, does this worry you about their outfield defense even more now?
No, it doesn't. I don't think it's going to be a huge drop off, because in my estimation, I even think that Roman Quinn is a good outfielder. He's got speed. He can cover the territories. If he couldn't hit, then that's what it would worry me. But
yeah, that definitely worry me if he couldn't even swing the bat.
No, so that's not gonna hurt his swing. It's just the throwing motion. If he had to play in the field and it was feasible, have him play first, and then have Hoskins DH, and then put somebody else out there. But I think they're making the right decision with him. And today they even gave him a day off.
Right, because today was the day he got the shot, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand. Okay. And so, yeah, that's it's fortunate that the National League just introduced the DH this year, and so that gives him a place that he can just swing the bat and do his thing out on the bases and not have to worry about hurting himself. So that works out for you guys. Unfortunately, the news isn't so great for one of my guys. I'm talking about Clayton Kershaw, who went on the injured list this week because of back issues. And that, of course, is not the first time that these back issues have flared up with him. And it's also the reason why I was hesitant to take him in the fantasy draft this year. Of course, he started off very outstanding, pitching the perfect innings of 7 innings and all that. He's 4-0 on the year, which is all great, but now he's on the IL.
I was just going to say, you had a problem with him coming out of that perfect game.
That's right. Here's a prime example of why they didn't have him pitch.
Right. I told you it's a long season, and it's the first.
It is, and we're not, we're middle of May, and he's already on the IL.
Yep.
So, yep. So you did, I was not one of those ones that were all upset that he came out of the game. So I was okay with that, and but you just got to hope that he gets back soon. And so those are the 2 injuries that I had, at the top of my list. Maybe Chris Bryant as well over there for the Rockies.
What is his
he's
injury?
Not prominent as the 2 guys we just talked about. And so, are there any other players? What's that?
What is Bryant's injury? I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
He's got a back injury as well, and he's been on the IL for a couple of weeks already. And I heard that he was taking back batting practice. And so he might be making his way back onto the field. And so, but he's not as big to his team as Bryce Harper is, and he's not as big as Clayton Kershaw is. So, but that leads into one of the things I was wanting to touch on is, because we're at week 6 now. And so I wanted to take a look back at some of the players that were free agents this year that signed with, either before the lockout or after, and just kind of take a look back and see how they're doing. And one of the guys that I wanted to touch on was, of course, Trevor Story, the guy that signed with the Red Sox. And let's just say that things have not gone well for him. And they're on. Matter of fact, the Red Sox are in Texas as we speak, or they might be leaving because they just got done playing a series here. But before they hit the road, Trevor Story was getting booed by the hometown Boston fans. So, and I know that if you buy a ticket, that pretty much, if you want to boo, if you want to, as long as you're not throwing stuff, as we talked about before. But how do you think, Nick, about players, getting booed by their own fans?
Well, I'm from Philly, so we do it all the time. It is a part of the game. All those of us that that teach or work in an office, we don't get heckled. We don't know what it's like.
We sure don't.
Nobody buys a ticket to come and watch us work. I was always told this. When I first started teaching, the major difference is, and because I was a coach as well, teaching is private and coaching is public. So when you enter a public realm, whether it's being an athlete or you're a celebrity or you're a politician, you are going to have to accept the fact that you're going to be subjected to jeers, and it happens all the time, and it's never going to stop. It's never going to go away. Unless you live in Green Bay, because those are the nicest fans in the world, and that is a story for another day. But
absolutely,
to get back to Trevor's story, he's not playing well. I think the fans they want immediate dividends, and they're simply just frustrated that he's not producing. Now, again, this goes back to what you say. It was a shortened offseason, a shortened spring training. He's in a new league. He's got to adjust to different types of pitching, different types of ballparks, different types of defenses and pitchers going against him. So it's going to take a little bit of time. Athletes are not switches. You just don't turn them on and turn them off. So give it time. And plus that, I think they're frustrated too that I don't exactly have their numbers, but I think they're pretty low in the standings as well. So they're not happy with an overall performance level from Boston, and I think they're going after him because he was their big free agent, and hey, what are you doing for me now? So I think once he starts getting hits under his belt and he starts producing runs, all that's going to be forgiven. It's going to go away. Oh yeah, because I think he was being unfairly compared to Pedroia, and Pedroia was a godsend up there, and Pedroia could do no wrong. Well, he's not Dustin Pedroia. So give him time to adjust. And Dustin Pedroia was not Dustin Pedroia when he came up. So give him time.
And he wasn't Dustin Pedroia at the end of his career either.
No, he wasn't. That's like us and Utley. Utley, there might as well be like a golden statue erected in front of Citizens Bank Park for Utley. And they were giving him crap the other day because he was wearing a Dodgers hat. Well, he works for the Dodgers, and he was a Dodger, and he grew up in LA. So, and he does have Philly ties. Let him go. My gosh. But people just, they think they can buy a ticket and then do whatever they want. No. What your ticket allows you to do is get in and enjoy the game. It doesn't guarantee you a win. It doesn't guarantee the outcome that you want. Just go in the ballpark, enjoy yourself, and relax. That's pretty much all it allows you to do.
There you go. So if you're a fan, follow the Nick plan and you'll be okay. So, Nick, out of the players that signed, free agent contract this year, are there any of those that you'd like to, touch on?
You already did. Chris Bryant.
Okay.
Now he's hobbled by injury. I even expected big numbers myself out of him. And,
I did too.
He's not producing. And everyone that drafted him. Plus that, you also have to think of what the player's going through too. They are human. He got traded from he got let go by San Francisco. He didn't want to leave San Francisco. Then he signs with Colorado, new city, new surroundings, new teammates, and now he gets hurt. So again, you got to give these times. They're like plants, man. You got to give them time to flower and cultivate. And here I go with my coach speak. But just let them develop. It's not going to be overnight. Colorado wasn't going anywhere anyway, so just relax.
It's a different deal when you're actually injured, as he is.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got injured, he was hitting 281. You can live with that.
Yeah.
But another free agent that
even in Colorado,
actually a couple of them that got signed by the Rangers, in which once again, this is a fantasy baseball show. I was a little leery of. Marcus Simeon has been just simply god awful. He's only hitting 165. He has no home runs. He only has entering this weekend has 28 fantasy points. And if you drafted him probably second round, third at the latest. You cannot live with that high up there. And then you got also the Rangers, Corey Seeger, the one that got intentionally walked for reasons that are still unknown. He's hitting 237. He has 7 home runs, so you can live with 7 home runs. And so those are a couple of guys that going into the season as a fantasy guy, I was leery of because at first they were changing teams and they were going to a stadium that's not, conductive to hitting.
Mm-hmm.
So those are 2 guys right there. One of the guys I wanted to touch on real quick was that has worked out is Freddy Freeman of the Dodgers.
Oh, by far.
Yeah, he's hitting 310. He's got a 394 on base percentage. And coming in the weekend had 88 fantasy points. So that has worked out well for everyone involved, the Dodgers, fantasy owners. So anyone else that you can think of that signed a free agent deal that you'd like to touch on that's either good or bad?
I think, let's see. Who else is Oh, how about your boy Todd Frazier? He just retired.
He retired. So he's out of he's out there, and I don't know if he's a city boy or a farm guy or not, but he's taking it easy on a Sunday night, so good for him.
Vogelbach
and some of these hitters really hasn't worked out well for him so far. Carlos Correa, he was it wasn't working for him. Now he's on the injured list with a finger injury. So that's not working out well. But the pitchers, though, we start with Max Scherzer. He's pitching well. Kevin Gausman, the guy that I was a little leery of going from the Giants to Toronto, he's pitching well. Robbie Ray, a guy that I was a little leery of going to the Mariners, he's pitching okay. Not to his standards, but he's pitching okay. And so the pitchers are way ahead of the hitters so far. And so that leads us into this. Go ahead.
I'm going to bring up this guy's numbers now, and I should be following him more closely, but I'm not. Zach Greinke, how is he doing?
Zach Greinke, it's not working out well for him, and I kind of figured that going back to the Royals, and good for him for being wanting to go home and all that. I don't have his numbers here in front of me, but I have looked at him, because he is on the waiver wire, and it has not gone well.
Okay, I have his numbers here right now. His WAR is 0.7. He's 0-2, and he's got a 3.52 ERA.
You can live with that.
So
you can live with that, but everything else,
no,
you can't live with that.
He's not doing well at all. So there's a couple of guys there, and then Starlin Castro.
Starlin Castro, interesting. Let's see. I thought you were going to go with Starlin Marte, but Starlin Castro, I do not have his numbers in front of me.
I'll look it up. You talk about Marte.
Okay, so he signed, of course, with the Mets, and he's not the stolen base guy. He stole one yesterday. He's got 5 steals, but he's been thrown out 4 times. That's far cry from what he did last year. But he's got 66 fantasy points going into the weekend, so it's not entirely terrible. But he has not been the guy, and Vince, if you're listening to this, because he told me don't go with Starlin Marte, but I did it anyway. But he's not killing my team by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. let's talk about the one guy we want to talk about. How about Robbie Cano?
Robbie Cano, our friend Robbie Cano, who you got to love Robbie Cano. First of all, because the Mets released him, right? And he is still owed. I read this, and I wish I had written it down here. He's still owed, millions and millions and millions of dollars. And he just was that Friday, Nick? Signed with the Padres. Which I don't see how this is relevant in any way in either real or fantasy baseball, because the Padres have about 6 players they can rotate in their infield as it is. And that's not even including Fernando Tatis.
Right.
So I don't see how he gets on the field much at all.
Okay, so before he was released, I got his stats. He had 41 at-bats. In 41 at-bats, he had 8 hits, 3 runs, 3 RBIs, 2 walks, and batting $195.
Okay.
So he was not playing well, and he was not living up to his contract. They actually designated him for assignment.
That's right. And of course, nobody wanted him because no one's going to pay him $67 million or whatever.
They basically told him they paid him to go home. Just go home.
That's right.
We'll find a place for
fine.
you.
Yay for Robinson Cano.
Yeah.
Hey, he showed him how to do it right. And so, Robinson Cano, enjoy your time in San Diego. I've been to that stadium. It's a great stadium, I'll have to say, because I used to live over there. And
I have yet to be there.
Okay. If you ever get a chance to go to San Diego, must go to a baseball game there. It's a relatively new stadium.
Yeah. Funny you mention that, because my in-laws, my sister and brother-in-law live in San Diego. Every time we get to go, it's during spring break, which is in March, and we never get to go to the stadium to go to a game. We went last year. We went in like July or so, and Padres were out of town. So then we drove up to Anaheim, and then we watched the Angels, and then we were going to leave.
I've been there too. I've been to Anaheim Stadium. It's a great place too.
The outside is so ugly, but the inside's nice. So
it's terrible. Outside is terrible. Yeah. The inside used to be just as bad because they played football there, but they changed all that.
Yeah. So long story short, we were going to leave. I said, you know what? Shohei's got one more bat in him. Let's see what it does. So I break out the camera. Over the center field wall. I was like, this is great. It was like the whole day was worth it.
And that's why, we are such fans of baseball, because it's plays like you're describing right now. And, you just don't ever know what you're going to get. And those guys that are walking out of the stadium when it's the 7th inning, I got nothing for you.
Yeah. So one guy I want to talk about who's near dear to my heart, and I'm happy we got him, Nick Castianos. Okay. Right now,
I've got him on my list here.
He's got 129 at bats.
Okay.
He's hitting 279.
Okay.
36 hits with 9 runs and 21 RBIs. So I'm happy with what he's doing. I thought it was a fantastic pickup. Whenever we got him, I think it was like midnight, Friday night, Saturday morning, and I was like, oh my God, look who we just like they're actually doing something. Now, if I were a GM for a day, I would do some other things, but we'll talk about that in our next segment.
Yes, which we are going to transfer to right now, because we're already, this is great. We're talking about baseball. So if you were a GM for a day, Nick, what team are you managing, first of all?
I don't think it's a big secret. I think I'd be the Phillies GM.
I figured that, but I didn't want to put words in your mouth.
Well,
so
thank you.
Right now, today, you're the Philadelphia Phillies general manager. What move, if any, would you be making?
I hate to say it, I really do, but the biggest move I would have to make, I'd have to move Rhys Hoskins, because even though he's hitting great, our bullpen is just dreadful. It is beyond terrible. And right now, you're not going to trade Harper because you just signed him. to
right.
a
And you
big
signed him
contract.
for 85 years or whatever. So no, so he's
And
not going anywhere.
no one's going to take that deal. Okay. Segura, he's marginal. Didi's just a name. Bohm is not ready yet, and you're not going to and you're not going to get rid of Castianos or Schwarber because you
just signed them. So no, that's not
right.
happening.
So Hoskins would have to be your most valuable movable piece right now, and you'd have to get either a big time starter or some relievers, and it has to be done. I mean, you can fill his bat. Phillies have offense. I think they just scored, I don't know,
That's right.
87 runs against the Dodgers of all teams.
We don't need to get into that, Nick.
No, we don't. But they can hit. So what you can't facilitate is pitching. They have it. They don't have it beyond the fifth inning. If you got to bring in your bullpen, good luck, because like last week they blew a 6-run lead in the eighth inning. It's like you have got to be kidding me. How in the heck do you do that? That's just
that goes back to some of these that we've discussed before about how guys are laying down bunts later in games and how they're stealing bases and everything else. That's a prime example right there of a game that should be over, and it wasn't. So until the game's over, you play the game. So that's today, my interjection there. So go ahead.
No. And like today, they had a 4-1 lead, and they didn't do anything after the sixth inning. I mean, after the second inning, and they lost in the bottom of the ninth. So it's bullpen. It's all bullpen, and you don't realize how valuable it is until you don't have it. Just like offensive linemen in football, everyone's just go get a lineman. Just go get on. You just can't go dial a lineman and just throw one in there.
No.
So
and you can't dial in a relief pitcher either. You can have 70 guys in the bullpen, and they all can have ERAs at 7.50. It doesn't help.
So to circle back, and then obviously to give you time, Hoskins would be my biggest move. Now, to what team? I don't know what team, but whatever you're going to get the most valuable for him right now, you have to move him. Because the Phillies don't have a farm system anymore. They haven't had a farm system since they won the World Series. I don't know what Andy McPhail was doing. I think he was living up to his name, McPhail. So I don't know how he ran that farm system. They sold they mortgaged the whole farm for the World Series, and they got it, and now they're left with nothing. Now they've been rebuilding for a decade.
And that's all good points. And so, it shouldn't come as any surprise that the team I'm managing is the Dodgers. And, we've talked about how they've got a great offense, which is kind of true. But they've got some guys who have just not measured up this year. And I'm talking about Max Muncy. He has been absolutely terrible since the opening bell. And Chris Taylor has not played well. And Justin Turner has started to turn things around a little bit. And he was terrible for first, 4 weeks or, 4.5 weeks, whatever. He's starting to turn things. And, the difference between like the Dodgers and the Phillies, the Dodgers, we all know they spend money, but they also have an excellent farm system. And so I would use some of those assets down on the farm. Maybe if I could package Max Muncy for somebody that might want, think that, he'll turn things around. It's looking terrible for him. Yeah. Or I would hate to get rid of Chris Taylor because he plays so many different positions. But if I could package one of those two guys and some farm assets, especially if we don't know what's going on with Clayton Kershaw's arm, they could move, and because you never can have too much pitching. So I would look at doing that, maybe add a bat and an arm, and then let's face it, they're going to have to. The Giants, as I predicted, have come on, and the Padres, as I continue to predict, will be there, unlike last year. So you need to have a quality team all the way around to win that division, and so that's kind of the way I would move, because their offense isn't as great as we thought it was going to be when the season began. So that's what I would do.
Good take.
All right. So since we are a fantasy baseball team, as I keep on saying, are there any players, Nick, that you are kind of holding on to, right? You want to hold on to them. You want them to do well, but you have concerns. And what should I do with this guy? Should I hold him? Should I move him? What should I do? Are there players that you're looking at that you are concerned about?
Yeah, I got 3, and I'm gonna and I got 2 hitters, and then I got a pitcher. So my first guy is Jose Abreu. I don't know what's going on with him right now. He's got
it's a mystery. He's been one of the great hitters down through the ages.
right, and
So
how long
for him to be this mysterious, I don't know.
how long do I hold on him? He's got 54 points.
That's terrible.
He's a 16th ranked position. Now I play in an ESPN.
Ooh, 16th ranked at first base.
Right.
There are 15 first basemen that's worthy to be a starter on a fantasy team.
Right. As thin as that position is. So I play in an ESPN league.
Right.
He averages 1.7 points, and he's rostered in 97% of leagues. So everyone is just like me. What do I do? Because the minute you let him go, he's going to turn fire, right? So what do you do with that? If you were me, Kevin, what would you do with that?
I would see if I could get somebody that was interested in his name, because he's got name recognition, and see if you can move him and get somebody, a couple of guys. And also, all these moves always depends on what kind of, the size of the league you're in. If I'm a 10-man league, I may not do anything with him. I just might, say, okay, I'd wait till maybe June. If he hadn't turned it around, I'm going to get somebody maybe off the wire.
Correct. Well, I'm in a 14-team league, so
14 teams.
That's thin pickings.
That complicates everything so much because there's nobody on the wire pretty much that's going to replace a Jose Abreu. It's not going to happen. And so your choices are either hold him or see if you can get somebody to trade for him.
Yeah, because I got other people that can play first base. I got my other guy that I'm ready to drop in Max Muncie. I got Hosmer, and Hosmer's been knocking the cover off the ball, and I'm so happy that I made that trade. And I got Vogelbach as well. But
okay, we talked about him last week, and I'm with you on him. Vince was kind of like, no, I don't like him. I like him.
Right. So let me jump over to our good friend Max Muncie.
Okay,
dude, he's killing me. He's got 57 points.
Yeah, it's a slow death. It's like a death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Oh my gosh! And he's got 57 points, and I can play him at first, second, and third. And he's got, like I said, 57 points. He's the 15th ranked position, and he's averaging 1.8, and he's also 97% rostered. So he is another name recognition guy. He's another one. Like, what was it?
If he could just turn it around a little bit, you might get somebody interested in him.
Now, a name from the past that you remember a few years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, was Andre Ethier. Every time I looked up, that dude was hitting a home run. Every time I looked up, that dude was hitting a home run. And then he just kind of fell off the planet. So I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he got old all of a sudden or
sometimes that happens. These players, maybe not so much in baseball, but it does happen where one day you're on the top of the world and the next you're on the street.
You get the yips.
Usually the yips are, in the outfield or infield or whatever, but sometimes, your whole body gets the yip.
You get a Knobloch and a Mark Wohlers. Remember those two? Those were the two famous.
I do remember those guys. And the pitcher who couldn't throw a strike and he became an outfielder. I don't remember his name. He used to play for the Cardinals.
I know.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do, and I can picture his face, and I can't remember his.
Me too. But that's the kind of thing, and I already talked about Justin Turner and Taylor and Munsey, so A couple of pitchers I want to throw out there is one is Jose Barrios of Toronto, who's 2-2, but his ERA is 5.82.
I got it. Rick Ankiel.
Oh, that's right. Okay, Rick Ankiel. That's right. And so his ERA over the last week has been 8.44. And so he's lost his last 2 decisions. It's not looking good up there, north of the border. And then we get down to the southern end of the United States. I'm talking about Charlie Morton. And he's 2-3 with the 5.65 ERA. He only has 35 fantasy points. That's not cutting it in fantasy baseball whatsoever. And so I think that if I had him, I wouldn't have any problem probably saying to him, great that you helped us win the World Series a year ago. Have a nice life. So
that's kind of harsh there, Kevin.
And it's harsh, and that's the way things work in fantasy baseball. So you got to take your emotion out of it and just decide what you're going to do. And if I had Charlie Morton, I think I would move on from him.
Speaking of another Charlie, how about Charlie Blackman? Where did he go?
Oh man, yeah, I got him on my list of drops, Nick, which we're getting ready to get into in a minute. So yeah, so I got him as a clear drop. Any guy that's on a Colorado baseball team, a hitter that's not hitting, you have no use for. No use whatsoever. And so before we get into the drops, what about a couple of pickups, even in your 14-team league, that you think that might be worth picking up?
Yeah, give me a moment because I had it all queued up, and then we were talking about things. So, Kevin, why don't you start?
I'll start with that because I got a couple of guys. We were talking about Jose Abreu, a guy that's on their team. Laurae Garcia is a guy who plays every position: second, third, outfield, shortstop. He's only owned in 1% of leagues. Okay. So this guy is somebody that you can pick up. Doesn't have to be in the middle of the night to go get him. And so he's hitting .421 in his last 7 games. He's scored half of the fantasy points he does have in his last 7. And so he's a guy that looks like he could, do some damage for you. And then, just like everybody else, when he stops doing damage and you drop him, go get somebody else. So Laurie Garcia is a guy. Also, Santiago Espino. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Yeah.
Espino?
For the Toronto Blue Jays. He's owned in 15.2% of leagues, which I don't understand because right from the beginning of the season, he has played well. He's hit well. And he's a Toronto bat that's available. You're not going to get anybody else off that team. They're all owned already. But like I said, he's only owned in 15.2% of leagues. He's available as a second and third baseman. And so if you need help at either one of those, especially third base, because that's another thin position, go out and pick him up and get him into your lineup.
Okay, I believe I'm ready now.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the one guy, I'm going to go off the ESPN. I got Colin Moran out of
Pittsburgh,
Cincinnati. Believe
Cincinnati. That's okay. I remember seeing his name now. Right, he was in the lineup today. That's right.
Now he's only got 50 points, but you can play him at first and third.
Okay.
And he's only rostered in 4% of leagues. So if you need a filler, Colin Moran is one. I got another one. You said drop them all from Colorado, but Randall Grichuk.
Don't drop him. Do not. I'm saying if they're not hitting, drop them.
Okay.
Grichuk
well, he's available in my league.
Okay, I would pick him up on Connor Joe if he's available. I've had him. I've added him. I've had him for weeks now.
But also on the other side of that, he's also down 9% dropped in my ESPN league. And then I got Michael Taylor, outfielder from Kansas City. I almost said the Chiefs. He's only got 47 points.
Okay.
He's only got 47 points. He's rostered in less than 1%. of teams.
That's
So
right.
these
So
these are
I've
nuggets
heard,
you can go out and find.
That's right. It's because I've heard, when I've recommended some players, oh, they're not available. These guys that we're talking about right now are available.
And this is in a 14-team league.
Right. And I'm in a 10-man league, so you best believe these guys are available.
Correct.
All right. So here we're about to run out of time, but I want to get to some drops. And the first player I'm going to put out there to you, Nick, is Corey Kluber. All right. I
have him.
Picking him up earlier in the season, but guess what? He allowed 8 runs on 11 hits and just 2 Ks against the Angels. That's not going to get it done.
No.
And we talked about Charlie Blackman already. And the third guy that I'm dropping is Yandy Diaz from Tampa Bay. He's another guy that people recommended picking up. He's only hit 136 in his last 7 games.
Ouch.
And has had 1 hit since May 6th. 1 hit.
Oh.
Right? And when I'm sitting here watching TV, it means that he's had 1 more hit than I have. And so those are 3 guys that I'm going to say cut the cord.
Right. I got Nathaniel Lowe, first baseman.
Oh, yeah.
From Texas.
That's a great pick because I actually drafted him.
Go ahead. You speak about him. You know much more about him than I do.
Pretty well, Nick. And it has come off the tracks completely. And so I dropped him a while ago. So, okay. So, yeah. So he's definitely droppable. Who else you
got? Frank Schwindel.
Okay.
From Chicago.
Okay. I have not had him, but yeah.
Well, good, because he's only got 28 points. So
28 points. Man.
No, you don't need him. You don't need him.
How do you justify having somebody on your roster has 28 points on May 15th or whatever today is?
I have no idea. And then I got Jared Klenick.
Oh yeah, that's a guy that I was, because he's in AAA now.
Yes, he is. They dropped him.
They dropped him. So anybody that has him on their roster is either asleep at the wheel or just doesn't care about fantasy baseball, which you should just not play it anyway.
And I'm going to spit.
There's no reason for him to be on a major league, fantasy roster.
I'm going to speak on Vince's behalf. G-Man Choi. G-Man is down. He's on my droppable. He's got.
He offered me him to trade. I'm like, no, Vince, no. He wanted me to trade Rowdy Tellez.
He's got 29 points.
No.
And he's dropped 5%, and he's available in 10% of the ESPN leagues.
Well, he's available in 100% of Kevin Wilson's league. So, all right. So, Nick, we're just about out of time here. So, just let us know where we can find you.
Okay, you can find me on Twitter at Penn Flanders. You can also find me on the NFLA Wrap-Up podcast. And you can find me right here whenever I'm invited to the Belly Up Fantasy Live.
Which is going to be happening quite often, guys. So you can always find me at Kevin62, WILSDA. And that's pretty much what we got for you tonight. So thank you for joining us. Remember, check intheclutch.com. And we'll see you next time.
10% off.
10% off. There you go.